My name is Kelsey Kent, and this is GMOs and How Do They Affect Us? What to expect from this presentation? When did GMOs become such a hot topic? What are genetically modified organisms? How are these organisms regulated? The big companies involved with producing genetically modified organisms? Which crops are commonly modified? What are they modified for? How does this help us? And what are the good and the bad of genetically modified organisms? When did GMOs become such a hot topic? In 1996, the first commercially available pesticide-resistant crop began to raise awareness to GMOs. This graph shows the number of media reports per year that contained agricultural biotechnology in the headline or lead material. As you can see, the increase in mention of these products began in 1997 and drastically increased into the 2000s. According to the article that published this graph, the majority of the publicity about genetically modified organisms was negative. According to the USDA, 2002 is considered the peak of research in biotechnology. However, golden rice was announced in 2005. Golden rice was a major creation for biotechnology as an industry. This is because this rice is able to biosynthesize beta-carotene, which is a precursor of vitamin A, in the edible parts of rice. It is intended to be consumed in areas with a shortage of dietary vitamin A, a deficiency which is estimated to kill 670,000 children under the age of 5 each year. Even with these great successes, in 2014, the USDA reported that overall, its consumers in industrialized countries were willing to spend more money to avoid genetically engineered foods. However, the USDA found that in developing countries, people were willing to spend more to gain access to these foods once they were educated on the benefits of these foods. So what exactly are genetically modified organisms? They are any organism whose genetic material has been altered using genetic engineering. This process can also be called biotechnology and can be applied to plants, animals, and microorganisms. Currently, there are only 2 approved genetically modified animals for commercial use today. There is a genetically modified salmon called the Aqua Advantage salmon and a genetically modified mosquito called Oxitec mosquito. The salmon was engineered in response to the overfishing of the Atlantic salmon. The new Aqua Advantage salmon have the ability to grow faster. This could be applied to wild or even farming practices. To modify the salmon, engineers took the recombinant DNA sequence from the Chinook salmon and regulated the gene expression with the use of another fish called the ocean pout. This allows the salmon to grow faster. The Oxitec mosquito was engineered to help get rid of mosquito-to-human diseases, such as dengue fever, which is spread through a specific type of mosquito. To do this, researchers are overexpressing tetracycline in male mosquitoes so that when they breed their offspring, they will have a lethality trait and die. So, how are we regulating this new technology? According to the International World Health Organization, genetically modified foods are put through the following process. What is this new food's direct health effects, and is this food toxic? What is this food's allergenicity, or what is the potential for provoking an allergic reaction? Stability of the gene they are modifying. What is this modified food's specific components? Or exactly which part of this organism are we modifying, why are we modifying it, and what are the benefits of modifying this food? What are the effects associated with modification? This could include looks, nutritional content, or even how they grow this organism. Lastly, the World Health Organization looks for the unintended effects of these foods. Is there a bigger picture to this food? Could we potentially stop it? How do we ensure safety? Safety goals are regulated by the FDA, USDA, CDC, and even the EPA. The FDA regulates the safety of food for humans and animals. The USDA has a smaller organization that regulates animal and plant health. This organization is called the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service. At some point, the company has to request a regulatory status for their crop or animal that they are engineering. The CDC only gets involved once the genetically modified organism is on the market. The CDC tracks the number of complaints that this product may have caused. Complaints could include toxic amounts of a certain compound or even an adverse reaction that they did not necessarily have to a non-genetically modified organism. There are 6 big companies that control the biotechnology industry currently. BASF is a German company that manufactures fiber intermediates, nylon and melamine fibers, resins, etc. They're mostly known as a chemical manufacturer. Bayer Crop Science is a company that deals with seeds, crop protection, and non-agricultural pest control. DuPont is a conglomerate company that specializes in materials that are chemical, biological, and even engineering. The Dow Chemical Company, which only specializes in specialty chemicals. Monsanto. This company has been in the news, especially in the United States. They are an American multinational agrochemical and agricultural biotechnology corporation. Lastly, there is Syngenta. This is a Swiss biotechnology company that produces agrochemicals and seeds. Syngenta was comprised in 2000 and is made up of Novartis Agribusiness and Zeneca Agrochemicals. This is a quick list of the most common genetically modified crops. The major 3 that are modified are soybeans, corn, and cotton. However, there are also potatoes, apples, squash, specifically yellow and green zucchini, and also papayas, more specifically Hawaiian papayas. Why do we genetically modify these products? Some of the main reasons are to increase nutritional components, pest resistance, flavor, crop yield, and immunity to other plant diseases. How do these modifications help us? These modifications can help end world hunger. Examples of crops already aiding in this ongoing fight are the previously mentioned gold rice and drought-resistant corn and wheat. These new crops will also allow farmers to have peace of mind. Farmers will not have to worry as much about losing their entire crop yield due to a drought year, pests, or even plant-to-plant diseases. We will be able to decrease the number of nutritional deficiencies by allowing us to have another way other than standard supplementation, which individuals might not have the means to access right now, to receive adequate nutritional status. We will even be able to give vaccines. This process is a relatively new engineering feat. The idea originated from a Dr. Charles Arntzen and is being amplified in major biotechnology research laboratories across the country. They are in the process of engineering crops like bananas, potatoes, and even lettuce to give people vaccines. These newly developed vaccines will be targeted at underdeveloped countries. Most recently, the University of Maryland at Baltimore began testing an antibody to the Norwalk virus on human volunteers. Other diseases, such as cholera, hepatitis A and B, are being placed into foods and studied around the world. Unfortunately, there are still cons to this ever-evolving technology. For example, there is a potential for major ecosystem impacts. Although these are studied before release for commercial use, there still could be an environmental event that was unforeseen. These unforeseen events could include genetic interbreeding, competition with natural species, and even pressure on target and non-target organisms. Horizontal gene transfer is also an area of concern. This can be induced in response to changing environments. Horizontal gene transfer is the acquisition of foreign genes by organisms in a variety of environmental situations. Unfortunately, there is no way to see the long-term effects of this technology because it has not been around long enough to see how sustainable this technology is to even itself. Also, with new research being conducted every day, there is a potential to have a new organism be created that there are not even measures of testing or regulating. Intrinsically, I would hope that the company would identify this and do as best as they could. However, companies may not always do what is right for the environment, as money can be the driving motive. To battle the previously mentioned cons, research on these plants is still ongoing, not only to keep them relevant, but to improve them to changing environmental conditions. Additionally, the education of the benefits of these crops should be increased. The amount of people that we have on Earth is something that cannot be sustained currently, and we are already seeing the effects of this. Although genetic modifications may feel like an ethical battle, it could also be viewed as an ethical battle to stop researching. Finally, the lifelong and working goal of genetically modified organisms needs to be made sustainable. Thank you for your time. If there are any questions, please have them passed along and I will be happy to answer them.